Every empire believes its money is eternal. Rome believed it, Britain believed it. Every citizen, every merchant, every soldier trusted the currency in their hand, until one morning they woke up and the money was a lie. And today, Americans believe the same thing. The dollar, the world's reserve currency, the backbone of global trade, the measuring unit for the global economy, feels immortal. It feels untouchable. It feels permanent. But history has never allowed any currency to rule forever, and when money dies, it never dies gradually in the eyes of the public. It dies suddenly, violently, almost overnight. The truth is, currencies do not collapse when they lose value mathematically. They collapse when people lose faith psychologically. Money is trust printed on paper or encoded in digital banking systems. And when trust breaks, money breaks. Imagine waking up one morning in 2026 and noticing something feels off before the headlines tell you anything. Your phone buzzes and the first alert reads, Dow falls 9,000 points, trading halted. Another headline, foreign central banks dump U.S. Treasury bonds. The words look unreal. You think it's clickbait, exaggeration, just another piece of financial drama. But then another notification appears. Emergency federal address scheduled for 8 p.m. tonight. You go to the gas station, swipe your card, and it declines. You try again. Declined. You go inside to ask the clerk, and he shrugs nervously, pointing to a handwritten sign, cash only, card processing down. The ATM outside has a tape note. Out of cash? Try Monday. You check your bank app, it won't load. You try transferring money to a friend, and the app freezes. That small panic flutter in your chest isn't about money, it's about realization. The system you trusted is wobbling. The foundation you believed was bedrock is suddenly sand under your feet. No bank statement, no expert commentary, no data chart could ever deliver the truth as clearly as the feeling you're having now. The financial system is losing control, and you're experiencing what every person in every collapsing economy has felt. Confusion first, fear second, denial third. The most dangerous moment in financial history is not when money loses value, but when people realize it's losing value. Collapse is never economic first. Collapse is psychological. Before Rome collapsed, it didn't run out of soldiers first. It ran out of belief in its currency. Before Germany collapsed in the 1920s, shops were still open, but people no longer believed the paper notes in their hands meant anything. In Argentina, in Lebanon, in Venezuela, the first collapse was not of banking systems, but of trust. When trust goes, money dies. And when money dies, society changes faster than anyone can react to. In the months leading to collapse, everything feels normal, even optimistic. The news talks about resilient consumer spending. Politicians smile confidently and say, the economy is strong. Analysts praise record corporate earnings, booming tech valuations, AI revolutions, and productivity miracles. Meanwhile, grocery bills quietly double. Rent rises, medical insurance becomes unaffordable. Savings evaporate in real terms, even as the bank balance looks the same digitally. People shake their heads and say things are expensive, not realizing they are living in the erosion phase of currency trust. Collapse does not announce itself. It whispers. It gives hints. People ignore them because acknowledging them feels frightening and hopeless. Then one day, something snaps. It could be a geopolitical announcement, maybe China and Saudi Arabia declaring they will settle oil in yuan or gold, not dollars. It could be a foreign central bank dumping hundreds of billions of US bonds. It could be a cyber attack freezing financial systems temporarily. It could be a sudden spike in treasury yields that forces the Federal Reserve to intervene with emergency liquidity. The trigger is unpredictable, but the psychology is always identical. The moment people think, maybe my money is not safe, the clock starts. Not on currency value, but on belief. You rush home, turn on the TV, but every channel is saying the same thing. Temporary liquidity issue. The system is fundamentally sound. Experts say these words every time before destruction. They said it in 1929, just days before the Great Depression. They said it in 2008, days before major banks collapsed. They said it in Lebanon before ATMs turned off. They said it in Argentina before deposits were frozen. They always say systems are safe, up until the minute the doors close. You try withdrawing money, your bank shows an error. You try again, nothing. You call your bank, and the hold message says, due to unusually high call volume, wait times are longer than usual. Then the government speaks. The president appears on screen with calm eyes and heavy tone. We are implementing temporary stabilization measures to protect the financial system and ensure orderly functioning. And the phrase that changes everything. To maintain stability, certain withdrawals and transfers will be temporarily paused. There it is. Capital controls. The line between freedom and financial captivity disappears. The money you thought you owned, you don't. It never belonged fully to you. It was always a promise, and today that promise is suspended. You scroll social media. People are in disbelief, some angry, some mocking, some panicking. Supermarkets begin placing limits on staples. Gas lines form, not because supply is gone, but because confidence is gone. Suddenly, hotels that used to cost $200 now cost $500 a night. Restaurants that charge $60 for dinner now charge $120. Real estate listings remove prices and say, call for inquiry. Gold dealers shut down websites. Crypto exchanges go into high demand mode with extreme spreads. Everyone is trying to exit the system, but exits are locked. Nations react globally. Asia halts trading to stabilize markets. European banks tighten capital flow. Gulf nations hold emergency meetings. The BRICS alliance accelerates their own payment network. India, Russia, UAE, China coordinate emergency settlement systems outside the dollar. For decades, America used dollar power to control the world. Now the world senses weakness and detaches quietly, fast, coldly, not with anger, with strategy. At home, the government reassures Social Security payments will continue, essential workers will be paid, banks will reopen soon, the financial system is intact. But people have heard these lines before, in books and documentaries and other nations' collapses. Then the final announcement drops. We will transition to a temporary digital dollar framework to restore liquidity and ensure economic stability. They explain it as modernization. They call it secure. They promise accessibility. But everyone understands the meaning. This is not transition. This is survival. In this new system, every dollar becomes traceable. Withdrawals require approval. Spending can be monitored to prevent speculation and panic. Stimulus appears in digital wallets. Digital rationing of essentials begins quietly, for fairness. People who once swiped credit cards and believed they were free now live inside a financial cage, not enforced by guns but by code. Freedom ends not when soldiers march, but when accounts freeze. This moment will not feel like the movies. It will not feel like apocalypse. It will feel like waiting, uncertainty, confusion, searching for information, refreshing a banking app that never loads, and hoping tomorrow will be normal again. The collapse of the dollar will not look like fire. It will look like silence, then shock, then acceptance. But here is the part history hides. After every collapse, new elites rise, new fortunes are created, and those who prepared step into power while everyone else struggles. When Rome fell, those who held land and gold rebuilt. When Weimar fell, those who held foreign currency and hard assets emerged wealthy. When Argentina reset, those with dollars bought entire neighborhoods. Collapse is tragedy for the unprepared, but opportunity for the prepared. Because collapse is not the end of money. It is the end of one form of money and the birth of another. The powerful already built their escape. They moved assets overseas, bought land, acquired gold, acquired productive businesses, built networks, diversified into real stores of value. The middle class kept savings in banks and believed politicians. And collapse does what it always does. It destroys the savings of the obedient and rewards the skepticism of the informed. History doesn't repeat perfectly, but its rhythm never changes. Empires rise through production, thrive on trade, dominate with currency, overstretch with debt, decay under inflation, and collapse when trust breaks. Then they replace old money with controlled money and call it progress. The Roman emperor replaced silver with debased copper and called it reform. The French Revolution replaced old notes with assignats and called it fairness. In our age, paper dollars will be replaced with digital dollars and called modernization. The day the dollar dies will not be a day of war, not a day of explosions, but a day of realization. A day when Americans understand what Romans, French peasants, German citizens, Argentine savers, Lebanese depositors, all learned the same hard way. Money is not metal or paper or code. Money is confidence. When confidence breaks, the system breaks. And that day, whether tomorrow or years from now, won't feel like disaster at first. It will feel like temporary measures, government reassurance, some infrastructure upgrades, digital transition, market stabilization, and policy steps for the common good. Collapse always arrives dressed as protection. When this day comes, your wealth will not be saved by your bank balance, but by what you converted that balance into before the freeze. Assets that live outside the screen, skills that create value, land that produces, relationships that protect, and awareness that sees through illusion. People often ask, how will I know the moment collapse begins? The answer is the same across thousands of years. When everyone else still says nothing is wrong, that is when time is running out. When politicians reassure, when banks restrict quietly, when news says temporary, that is the signal every survivor in history learned to recognize. This story isn't fear, it's pattern. It is how money dies. It is how power shifts. It is how eras end and new eras begin. And when the dollar era ends, it won't be the end of America. It will be the end of American financial dominance. Empires don't vanish. They shrink. They adjust. They tighten control. They centralize. They enforce stability. And they do it through currency. The day the dollar dies will be remembered not as chaos, but as transformation. Some will panic, some will freeze. A small group will rise because they prepared mentally, strategically, quietly. They understood that wealth is not what you have. It is what you can hold when systems fail. Awareness is wealth. Preparation is wealth. Understanding history is wealth. Because history does not repeat, but it never lies. If this opened your eyes, subscribe. History has the answers. I'll show you where to look.